This Family Life News podcast is made possible by the support of listeners like you.
Combining the gospel and living in God's creation to reach troubled young men. That's the goal of Bald Eagle Camp near Lock Haven, Pennsylvania, a structured wilderness therapy camp helping boys overcome life challenges and build resilience. Our guest on this edition of Hometown Heroes is Camp Director Laverne Beachy. Tell me how Bald Eagle Boys Camp was hatched.
Back in the early 90s, there was a group of men that got their heads together and said, you know what, there's a need for a place where troubled boys can get help with their emotional problems, whatever they're facing. There was a camp similar to what they had in mind down in South Carolina, which they visited and said, you know, why can't we do something like that here in Pennsylvania? And that was kind of where it hatched. In the Lancaster area, they started looking for land. They ended up buying property just north of Lock Haven. In 93, something like that. And then we started camp in 1995 for a licensed program for 40 boys, and started off just with a couple boys and then expand to 3 to 5. And then we have 4 groups of 10 currently.
This is not just your typical kids' summer camp where you ship them off for a week or two and they have fun and whittle sticks and stuff. This is something more involved, isn't it?
Yes, we're a therapeutic year-round program, and we're here to especially help boys that, just emotionally and behavioral problems primarily. Kids that are just getting in trouble a lot, maybe in school and maybe just at home. We're a year-round program, and we're teaching responsibility, taking responsibility for your actions. And so the way we go about that is we live in a group of 10 boys, 2 counselors in each group, and we're teaching how to do family in a lot of ways. They live in the woods. They build their own campsite. Each campsite would consist of, 10, 11 tents or so. There's tents to sleep in. There's tents that they cook in. There's a wood tent. There's, a variety of tents that serve various purposes. But the responsibility of the boys are to build their campsite and then maintain it. They take care of it. They build the tents. And by taking care of their own campsite, the ownership is then built into the program where they obviously care about the things that they build. And so a lot of ownership. And as far as just living as a group, we teach that you should, come to camp to help yourself and help others. That's why you should come to camp. You have something valuable to teach, and you can learn a lot from other boys your age. Being led by a couple counselors, we have 2 rules at camp. We do everything as a group, and we do it in a good attitude. And any time that we're not doing something as a group, or a boy refuses to help out or is not in a good attitude, the group will circle up, and we stand there together, talk about what the issue is, what we're upset about, whatever it might be, and talk about solutions for this problem. And then if there's something to take care of with somebody else, maybe they did something disrespectful or whatever it might have been, we take care of that problem right there. We solve the problem, we get a plan for next time, and we move on. So camp, we're solving problems with each other all the time. These boys, a lot of them have been to counseling centers and through therapies and different things, which, have their place, but there's something about living in the woods and being together as a group. Counseling is happening, but we're kind of living life, and we're living life as a family. We take time to solve our problems. That's one thing we have at camp. We have time. Unlike a lot of our, homes and so forth. At home, we have jobs, we have school, we have things we're doing. And so at camp, we can just stop and circle up, identify the problem, talk about the problem, and get back on track. A good functioning group is a pretty beautiful place to be. Graduation is based on evaluation, so it's kind of a decision made by the parents of the boy, as well as camp, and as well as his group. And when we feel like there's a lot of positive growth and he's ready to go home, we have a graduation for him. Typically, our boys are here about 18 months or so. In that time period, there's boys graduating, new boys coming. The group changes, but you try to maintain a good, stable, problem-solving type culture if you can.
It's got to be quite a bit of culture shock for a lot of these kids who are unplugging from their phones and all that, and suddenly they're out in the woods. It's got to be pretty shocking at first for them.
Yeah, it really is, especially for some boys. But it is really neat watching. The woods is the boys' world. It really is. And beautiful woods of Pennsylvania. And you have deer, we have birds, we have flowers, we have trees, we have worms and snakes, and there's just so much going on, not to mention just the weather that we get to live in. Just so much to learn and grow. Yeah, we are an educational program as well. We're considered an alternative education program. So we are doing school, but it's not your typical sit in a classroom type of school. But it's learning with the environment that we have around us. And so, yeah, boys, it is this culture shock. It's different, but it's really neat watching when boys start living in nature and start experiencing life with each other. The cell phones and the video games, they kind of miss it, but they do kind of adapt and kind of like how it feels not needing that stuff all the time, too.
Yeah, for sure. I think a lot of adults could benefit from that.
Yeah, exactly.
So one big difference here for the way you approach this therapeutic camp is you deal not just with physical and emotional needs, but spiritual side as well.
Absolutely. So, yeah, our faith-based program. So we serve a lot of boys from a lot of varieties of backgrounds. And so every morning, they get up at 6:30 and do their tent chores. And then we gather together and usually go over a day's plans, maybe have a little devotional. And then we do our campsite chores and then come up to Truck Wagon, which is our dining hall. Often for breakfast, we have sharing time and then a devotional or at least a prayer. Sundays, we have outdoor chapel. And then Wednesday nights, we have what we call Vespers. The groups take turns leading out with that. And then probably the biggest way of just sharing our faith is just simply living life. And counselors are born-again Christians who care about loving people and loving them well and serving the Lord in that way. And boys, they feel taken care of. Seeing Jesus lived out daily is a way that we project our faith. Just living the life, and if boys are interested in knowing more, they know how to pursue that. It's not something we push on everybody. It's more like who we are, and it's really neat seeing boys respond to that as well.
Yeah, you must have seen some pretty neat turnarounds.
Really have. It's been really neat watching not only boys change, but families that just needed some tools maybe just to get back on the right track. And we have 3 family workers that work with our families of the boys. It's really neat watching them find new tools, new ways to build relationships at home, whether it be structures, new ideas, ways to communicate and connect with their boy. It's really exciting seeing the changes that happen, not only for boys, but families as well.
That's Laverne Beachy, director of Bald Eagle Camp near Lock Haven, Pennsylvania, using a combination of the gospel and living in God's creation to reach troubled young men. Please join us again next time as we search for your home, your town, your hero. It's Hometown Heroes on Family Life.
Thank you for listening to this Family Life News podcast. If you've been encouraged by what you've heard, please share it with others and click the subscribe button to automatically receive future episodes. Family Life is a listener-supported ministry. Podcasts like this are made possible by your financial partnership. Find out more at familylife.org.